actually run their city. They just don't have, I think we as adults are failing them in a way, and they just don't have the means by which to carry out their ideas. But my vision would be, I like to use the term, I refer to my mother, Mayat, balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to change my diet and eat less meat, but not stop eating meat totally, you know what I'm saying? So my vision is balance, and I'm trying to impress that upon them too. Like, we desperately need development where I stay. We need some affordable housing. We need jobs. And at the same time, we don't need to further pollute the lake and stuff like that. So trying to strike that balance between capitalism and concern for the environment. So my vision, it might not necessarily be exactly like their vision, but what I'm learning from working with them in the preferred world is that they do have visions, and it's not all perverted. If we can just supply them with the means, I think we'll be impressed.
And I like to add to that, and like you said, is exposing them to nature so they can make the experience. When you bring them to the Everglades, because they hear, they watch TV, but once they are actually there making the experience, then they can bring their expression, like you said, to do something about it. And balance is important, like you were saying, the developers and all, and they have to be a sustainable development, which means we can all live together, you know, in harmony, but finding the right way to do it, not just thinking just about the money. You have to think how it's going to affect, how it's going to impact the life of the people living around.
I would add, this is not an environmental example, but it certainly speaks to the idea of how communities can be transformed. Some of you, if you're familiar with a book of photography called I Dream a World, it celebrates black women. And one of the women that is featured in that book, I can't remember the photographer's name, is Bertha Gilkey from St. Louis. She sort of rose to prominence by leading a group of tenants to the St. Louis City Council and basically challenged them, like, if you really need to solve problems in our community, well, when last have you been in the community? We're challenging you to come and hold a city council meeting in the projects where we live. The city council took them up on the offer. When they got there, these ladies provided just from their own kitchens this gourmet spread, better food than they ever had, right? And well, one thing led to another, and they realized that the people who knew how to solve the problems were the people who are living with it every day. And it ended, when I last saw Bertha Gilkey, she was a public housing consultant in Scotland and stuff. So it shows what can happen. That if communities are empowered, and I'm saying that in the passive voice, but I mean, you know, if we empower ourselves, others recognize that power, and then we empower everybody, which I think comes right back to the whole theme of what we're talking about.
Thank you so much. And I have the opportunity to add to that over many, many years, Cynthia Larimore, in her position as founder and executive director of Action Network, and I forget what Action stands for now, Cynthia organized active citizens together, improving our neighborhood. Thank you. Cynthia was fastidious in engaging the community and developing a program of what restoration should look like for them. So this is not a question that has not been thought of. She engaged with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Water Management District and all of the movers and shakers to the extent that they would allow her. And it is my understanding that much of that work was negated, and that the report actually said there were no people living in the area that were even concerned about the problems. This is how communities are sabotaged, by the very people who make a living off of our tax dollars and are supposed to be looking out for our interests. But there's a new sheriff in town. The new director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lisa Jackson, has made it very clear. Environmental protection is not only about protecting the whales and the dolphins and the polar bears. It's about protecting people in communities where they live. So this administration is going to be looking back at the Environmental Order 12898, signed by President Clinton in 19-something, that directed every agency, every federal agency agency to look and consider and include how their projects would affect low-income and minority communities, which had been proven by multiple studies to bear the brunt of the pollution from America's industrial development. So, on that note, I think we should stop because we have another speaker ready. So unless somebody else has a question, I want to take this brilliant, magnificent